Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about the global economy because over the last 24 hours, there has been a serious escalation of events in the Middle East that could lead to a rapid destabilization of global peace and cause markets all around the world to come crashing down. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, Joe, you haven't been talking about the Middle East at all over the past 7 or 8 months. So why are you now bringing this up? Well, the reason that I haven't been talking about the Middle East is that I did actually make a video immediately following the Palestinian attack on Israel on the 7th of October 2023. But unfortunately, that video was hit by a strike from YouTube. They said that it wasn't eligible for any ad income and told me that it wouldn't be promoted by the algorithm. And on YouTube, if your video isn't promoted by their algorithm, it basically goes nowhere. So that video died a very quick death. Now, when I looked into the details of that video, there actually wasn't anything controversial in there. There was no comment with regards to political bias. I wasn't talking about whether or not Israel were right or wrong. There was absolutely nothing in there. There was nothing graphic. I didn't show any details of any bombings. There was no videos. I was simply talking about the economic implications of what was going on. But clearly YouTube thought that it was a highly sensitive matter and didn't want me to make videos on it. Now, around about 2 or 3 weeks later, I thought, well, I'll try again. I'll do another financial-based video talking about what the ramifications could be of the issues in Israel becoming a much wider war event. And again, YouTube hit me with a strike immediately. So clearly YouTube did not want me to make any videos about Israel. But here I am right now making one because I think what's happened over the course of the last 24 hours has real potential to explode into a much bigger conflict, which could have really serious global ramifications. And the reason why I think that is because from day one of the conflict in Israel, the USA has stood firmly behind them. They have said, we support Israel, we will back them all the way. Now, on the other side of the equation, we've got Iran. Now, Iran are not directly involved in the conflict with Israel at the moment, but they're supporting the Palestinians. And Hezbollah, which officially is a political party that's based in Lebanon, which borders Israel, but has been designated a terrorist organization by the USA, Hezbollah has launched 300 rocket attacks into Israel overnight. And the reason that they've done that is because one of the leaders of Hezbollah was killed on the 30th of July by rocket fire into Beirut, launched by Israel, which Israel launched in retaliation to rockets that they say that Hezbollah launched on the 27th of July. Now, I'm not getting into the political issues about any of that. I don't want to talk about who's right, who's wrong, why all of this is happening. But what I do want to talk about is the potential here for this to really explode. Because Hezbollah is a well-funded organization that has significant military firepower. And the reason that it does is because it's backed by Iran. And Iran will stand behind Hezbollah and support them all the way. So what we've got here is a war that's starting to erupt between two nations and two organizations that really don't like each other. So this has been brewing for a long period of time, since the late 1970s. And we've got Iran standing behind Hezbollah saying, well, we will give you support. And we've got the USA standing behind Israel saying exactly the same thing. Now, obviously, when we look at global history, the USA and Iran also have some history themselves. So there is a genuine risk here that those countries could get drawn in, firstly, on a support basis, in the same way as the USA is supporting Ukraine against Russia and what's going on over there. So there's a lot of military support that could be given and financial support. But there is also a genuine risk. If rockets get fired, if bases get hit, if some US forces potentially get some injuries, that this could draw in the USA on a boots-on-the-ground basis. That is a very real risk here. And of course, as I mentioned, we've still got the war in Ukraine going on, And Russia will be looking at events in the Middle East right now and thinking about how it could potentially help them from a financial point of view. And I'm sure that Russia would be interested in talking to Iran if Iran were doing things that was against the USA. So it's a real powder keg situation right now in the Middle East. And of course, the implications for the global economy are really quite severe because the Middle East is still one of the biggest areas in terms of oil production. So there's a potential risk to the amount of oil that's being produced. But more importantly, and I think this is the bigger point, we've got a risk that the global economy could be pushed into a global recession as a result of this conflict erupting, because markets will get very jittery. Companies will be concerned about the impact on their global sales and what's going on in terms of global peace. We could see further divisions in terms of the political environment. We've seen that over the last 2 years anyway, as a result of the severe sanctions that have been applied against Russia. We've now got a split whereby some countries such as China and India are still prepared to deal with Russia, whereas the West isn't. So we've seen a complete change in terms of the global supply chain, who's buying what from who, and we're starting to see a change in the world order. It's a bit like a financial Cold War, and not like the Cold War that we had in the 1980s, which was actual potential military conflict. We've got a financial Cold War going on right now. And if we have tension that now erupts in the Middle East, which causes further division and more countries to take sides and start saying that they're going to sanction people as a result of supporting the opposition, this could lead to a break in the global economy. We could see things starting to break down even further. And if that happens, we could go into one of the biggest global recessions that's ever been seen. Now, obviously, that's the worst case scenario, but the reason that I wanted to make this video right now is that global markets are currently very fragile. Over the last month or so, we've seen markets tumbling and then bouncing back and then tumbling again. There's been question marks about tech and AI and various other things. And there is a lot of nervousness that markets are sitting on the edge of some sort of major correction. And the fact that the events in the Middle East are now exploding, we're seeing an increase in the warfare between Hezbollah and Israel, which potentially could draw in lots of other countries, will make the markets even more nervous. So there is a very real chance that over the course of the next week to 2 weeks to month, that we could see markets being thrown all over the place. We could see chaos in financial markets. So I wanted to give you that heads up that there is a genuine possibility we could see stock markets tumbling over the course of the next few days. So if you've got big investments, if you're sitting maybe with options or you've done some sort of hedging deals, then maybe you want to have a look at that, because I think the markets are going to be thrown into turmoil as a direct result of what's happening between Israel and Hezbollah. And if events do escalate, if we see more retaliation and more strikes and civilians being killed, it could really get out of hand very quickly, and that could draw in all of those other countries, and we could be left in a state of complete chaos in a very short space of time. So the overall summary of today's video is that the events in the Middle East over the course of the last 24 hours are very concerning. This does have the potential to have a massive impact on global peace and will definitely impact the global markets. So I'll keep you posted on any further news and developments. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, then please give me a thumbs up. Hopefully you found it useful, informative and thought-provoking. And here's something to put a smile on your face.